Good afternoon, welcome back to United TV. Latest Manchester United news. We're going to be covering the BALEBA story, a few different sources on what's happening regarding that one from Ornstein and Fabrizio as well. Also, we'll be looking at a couple of things being said about Lewis Hall, and Andy Mitten is chipping in with that. He thinks Hall is going to be trying to force his way out of Newcastle. So we've got like another 10 days of the transfer window left. Maybe there's going to be potential, a couple of big deals in the pipeline for Manchester United. Also, sources last night and this morning both saying the same thing. They're both saying that Man United, once they complete the BALEBA deal, which hopefully is going to be very soon, and hopefully it could happen today or tomorrow. I think Man United pushing to try and get this agreement over the line. Man United are expected to be making another couple of signings, so they're going to be leaving things pretty late. But I think there's a lot of expectation about left back, whether that's Lewis Hall or whether it's going to be one of the few other options they've got as well. So they do have multiple options, which will be cheaper. And if they can get a deal for Xerxes done, which again, I suppose might be 50-50 at this stage, then they will be looking at a striker option as well. So potentially we could be doing what would be considered, in my opinion, a decent window to get three midfield players in, a left back and a backup striker. For me, that would probably be addressing the biggest weaknesses in our squad. Again, still a long way to go at the moment. If they can close in on this third midfield deal with BALEBA, I think a lot of fans will feel a little bit more relaxed. But we know this is just the start, really. We need to get a left back and a striker. But if we do get these five signings done, then they will be effectively doing what I hope they would do at the start of the window. And I think now a lot of fans, we can disagree whether they've got the right midfielder or the right left back if they get these deals done. But I think most people would say that's the biggest weaknesses in our squad. So we'd have to say that they should be getting some credit from some fan bases. So I'm going to go into the comments and let you know what you're thinking as well. Be up to you, Stephanie. They're a bit early today for other reasons. I got someone arriving to come visit me later on today. So we're going to be getting in a bit early. This was the story that broke yesterday. David Ornstein, probably the most reliable journalist out there, saying Man United pushing 65 or 60 plus 5 million to get the deal done. And we're going to look at a couple of other sources. Fabrizio being quoted as well. He's the one that's saying after the BALEBA deal gets done, Manchester United looking at other deals in the market and say a left back is almost guaranteed, is what he's saying here. So I think a lot of people are quite worried about the left back position. I've said this, I think Harry Mass, if he's leaving, it does look like Man United are going to be getting a left back, and I think people are thinking this is almost certainly going to happen. The question, I suppose, that we don't know at the moment is going to be, will that left back come in as a backup to Luke Shaw, or will that left back be coming in to take Luke Shaw's place? That's probably the scenario I would prefer to see. I'd rather see a left back come in and be almost like not kicking Luke Shaw out of the team, but I suppose that is what I'm saying. He comes in and cements the left back position as his own. That's what I'm hoping regarding that one as well. And Fabrizio is also saying that Manchester United are looking at return to the negotiation table today with Brighton and BALEBA. And for me, that's what I'm saying. It looks like something might happen. We have seen a couple of deals with Man United this season. When they kind of start being reported by David Ornstein, they have been pretty rapid. So I think David Ornstein is effectively just waiting till deals are almost done and then reporting on this one as well. Would I ever? I don't know, Bilal. If they started it, I would certainly respond. I would, but no, I'm not looking to do anything like that. To be honest, whatever other YouTubers say, and I would say this as well. There's going to be a lot of different opinions in the kind of sphere of like social media and football. And if someone has a different opinion to me, honestly, I couldn't care less. So that's absolutely fine. Unless they it got personal, and then obviously I'd respond with that one. Um, Andy says, if you're honest, I never want to see Luke Shaw play for Manchester United again, and say, so we need to make the first team starter. If you're looking at the situation, I agree, Andy, like a lot of people want to see Man United move on from Luke Shaw. Then if you believe Andy Mitten, and I'll just put this up there briefly, Andy Mitten said Manchester United believe that Lewis Hall wants to move to Manchester United. Newcastle don't want to sell, but I mean, this is no different from Newcastle apparently they didn't really want to sell Tonali. They didn't really want to sell. and Bruno Guimaraes, Gordon, etc. So these are players that have been good players for Newcastle, and Lewis Hall represents another player that's a good player for Newcastle. But I think Newcastle are a selling club at the moment, and again, if you can get good profit, and Newcastle did buy a left back, I believe it might have been like agreed quite recently. So Newcastle have bought a left back. It's the same way that Manchester United selling a left back in a mass means that we're probably going to be buying a left back in. And if Newcastle are buying a left back and signing players in that position, it does suggest that maybe Lewis Hall is going to be going. I mean, if I was Newcastle, I'd be certainly prioritising getting midfield players in. But if you think Lewis Hall might go, get a left back in. I mean, there's options out there, isn't there? I mean, they could easily go for one of the cheaper options Manchester United are looking at, and then sell Lewis Hall for a profit. So in terms of Newcastle, I think you could certainly get a bit of profit from this deal, and maybe that would be absolutely fine. And just to go through this one as well. So, Belieber will most likely cost around 80 million. I guess there's a bit of conjecture about the actual price, isn't there? But maybe the price edges up. We don't know, but there is a possibility that the price is going to be a bit higher. And I did say yesterday that the negotiation process. I think Manchester United, if they start at 60 plus five, this is not too dissimilar from the Mbeumo situation last year, where I think we might have offered 60 plus add-ons. The first offer there ended up playing 65 plus six. So in terms of like the sort of scenario, I'd be saying if Man United are offering a package worth 65 million, then 80 seems like quite a big jump up from that. But if you're looking at Brighton also, no, Brighton are ready to sell. I think Brighton want to reinvest the money in the squad or also get new players in. And it would be a big profit. The one thing I've saw about the Belieber deal this morning, which is something I've not seen discussed too much, it might be that people have discussed this on other channels, but I haven't seen this myself, is that there is a sell-on clause from Lille, and in terms of that, I think it's 15 to 20% Lille get. So a 65 million pound deal with Manchester United. Then Brighton paid about 26 million for Belieber. They would have to give about 5 million to Lille based on that kind of rough percentages there. And if Man United spend, so that could be why, 65, 70. If the price edges up a little bit, it's a bit more profit for Brighton. But I think if you're looking at an estimation, if you look at how much Mbeumo went for last season, I would say it might be similar to that. So you might be looking at 65 plus some add-ons, but I'm not sure how much it's going to end up costing. But I think now we've seen the negotiations start. The one thing we can say is that this is not like a Tonali price. This is not like a Elliot Anderson price. So we're kind of in the right ballpark, I think, in terms of this. And I think Stephanie and a few other people said it looks like Man United have like 70 million pounds as a kind of like top end they want to spend. I think it might be close to that overall. So whether it edges above it, I don't know. It's down to Brighton's negotiation. I'm not sure Man United is the best negotiating team, but we'll have to see what the price ends up at as well. So maybe we'll get to see. I think we've in terms of like this, maybe we're going to get to see. It's very difficult to compare. Like if we're going to have one player going to say we got another player, Sangara, going to Brentford, we'll be able to look next season and see like, how does Matheus Fernandes do? How does Tonali and all these players moving to different clubs as well? I think Wadi looked very good in the World Cup. And I didn't watch much of AFCON, but apparently Manchester United were very impressed with Belieber at AFCON, and that's one of the factors. So again, like Buwadi looks like an excellent player, young as well. I think whoever signs Buwadi, and if he does go to City, really good signing. But I'm just going to say, who knows? Who knows? It might be that it's the right player for Manchester United, and Buwadi might be more expensive. So yeah. Are you good? Are you good, Bilal? Bilal? I mean, you can rant in the comments if you want to, but it's going to be. Um, I might be agreeing with you actually, so maybe I'll join in. DHEX says 60 million plus 10 is likely. So I guess with this one, what tends to happen is if you look at the kind of add-ons and things, I think clubs that like Brighton and Brentford, they tend to want like more money guaranteed. And I think that was the one thing that West Ham wanted. They wanted a higher percentage guaranteed. So 60 plus 10, I mean, I would say maybe like 65 plus 5 or 6 or 7 or something like that might be more in line with Brighton. I think having 10 add-ons, it probably depends on what they're for, doesn't it? And we have seen this a few times, don't we? That I think the add-ons with Mbeumo, the final add-ons were linked to Manchester United getting back into the Champions League. So obviously, and I said this when the deal got done, if Man United get into the Champions League, they're going to make a huge amount of profit, aren't they, in terms of revenue? So paying an extra couple of million for the Mbeumo deal does not matter then. And I'd be looking at thinking, maybe with a deal for Belieber, maybe you're going to have a few million add-ons that are associated with making sure we stay in the Champions League. So maybe that's going to be something, but it's going to be something to negotiate. I think my guess is going to be overall price. I think 70 is like a probably somewhere like it's going to be, based on previous year's transfers and the market. I think 70 feels like it might be somewhere close to that, but we'll have to see. We've got on that one. But yeah, Man United aren't going to be spending crazy amounts, are they? As well. Am I happy with Ineos and their price control policy? I, I'll say this. I'll say that in terms of like the deals we've done recently, I don't think we overpaid for Cunha and Buemo, and I don't think we've overpaid for. I know people will disagree on Santos. I think 50 million for Santos, like, is it a worse deal than like 85 million for Matheus Fernandes? I'd say I don't think it is. Like, I mean, Matheus Fernandes, 85 million is a huge price. So I think 50 million pounds for Santos, it might feel quite steep, but if you maybe in a year's time it'll seem like a decent deal. I just think that at this point in time, transfers are crazy, aren't they? And so Tielemans was a decent price. Lamans was a decent price, and Believer might be one of the most expensive ones. Like it might be one of the most expensive ones. So I think at the moment, I think Man United's price. I'm not really happy with having like a. If you say right, we're only going to pay this amount of money, it does limit you in the market. So I'm kind of happy that we're not overpaying at the moment, and I don't think we are overpaying this window either or last window. So I think you could say that seems okay. But again, if there's a player that's excellent and you think is worth it, like a generational player, then yeah, I think it's decent. Um, Yanni says decent price for Tielemans. That is a bargain price in your eyes. But I think you can look at it either way, can you? If you think Man United should have got Tielemans for free, then you'll look at the price and go, yeah, how much? But if you're looking at next season and getting players in that have got that level of experience and that level of quality, and I thought Tielemans had a decent World Cup actually when I was watching him play. And there's a few other players that you think they are good quality players. I think 35 million for a player that can be in and around the first team with experience, I think is a decent deal. But again, we'll maybe disagree on that one. Um, United Dyer says they've not planned well at all, and I think if you look at the transfers, Carlos Baleba is a player which apparently Man United did a lot of work around AFCON, looking at what he was doing in that competition. They then reassessed him in April. So I think with this one, Baleba was always a target, and it's always been a long-term target. And I don't know whether it's a good thing or not to leave it this late in the window, but uh, uh, yeah, it's a bit annoying regarding this one. Um, D Hex says we need to get a striker and left back as well. And yeah, so just to talk about the striker and left back situation a little bit, then according to a lot of sources, this is what Man United are going to be looking at as soon as the Belieber deal gets done. So I know we're talking about Belieber in terms of like almost a done deal, and it does feel like that's going to be an inevitable conclusion in hopefully maybe the next 24, 48 hours. We're going to be like, here we go. And in terms of this DHEX, I think you're probably spot on the money that we need to get a striker, we need to get a left back. And according to, I think, a couple of places, and Fabrizio's been saying this as well, that Manchester United, it's almost certain they're going to get a left back. So I think we're going to be getting a left back. And I keep saying this a few times. No one knows which left back we're going to be getting. Like no one knows for sure. Lewis Hall is probably the most expensive one we're linked to, and that's why it's probably the more exciting target. But there is also probably at least two or three other credible options for left back that Man United could be looking at. And I'm kind of actually hoping I would rather see us go for Lewis Hall than go for someone like a Robinson or I mean David Ram is actually very good. But I think Robinson for me would be a deal that maybe 3 years ago it's a good option. But now we got Tielemans at that age. I don't think we need to buy a left back that's going to be close to 30. For me, I would probably go right now. Luke Shaw's been here a long time. We don't want another left back that's going to be similar sort of age. We should be getting Lewis Hall, or at least going for a left back that's a lot younger than him. And the striker one, this depends. It might depend on Xerxes. And if you're looking at, I think someone in the comments said that there was a bit of information from Sully. I mean, Sully talks, if you follow that account, it's usually pretty credible. It doesn't usually put out a lot of information. I mean, yesterday seemed to be having an argument with Goldbridge, which was an interesting one regarding BALEBA. But he was saying that Xerxes exit will be maybe linked to what's going to be happening as well. And so let me just find this one as well. So there's a couple of options available. Tony, I think, is not going to be that expensive. I mean, he would have been probably discussed a couple of years ago in a bit more detail. It might have been a bit more expensive. And I think we talked about him when he was a Brentford player. Looked pretty good when he was a backup for Harry Kane. I think regarding this one, he might be a cheap option, but again, he's aggressive. I think people did question him at Brentford because he was a bit disrespectful to their club, but he would be a good option to have if Sesko's not available. And I think the other one is like Ollie Watkins is, I think at the moment, negotiating his way out of Aston Villa. And with Konza going, I mean, Aston Villa are probably, it's not been talked about too much, but Aston Villa are probably losing as many players as Newcastle, like in terms of first team players. So quite a lot of change in Aston Villa as well. And I think if you're looking at that as well, Ollie Watkins would be maybe for some people a good option. And I know when we talk about Watkins, I think if you look at Ollie Watkins last season, he probably got again, well, like 15, 16 goals in the Premier League and was very good in Europa League competition, European experience. I think he's someone that, again, for the next couple of years, could be a good signing. And it would depend on the price. If you're looking at Xerxes leaving the club and Ollie Watkins coming in, or Tony coming in, and there's two options there, I think most people's going to say, in terms of a goal threat, it's a big upgrade, isn't it? If you got Xerxes, who nothing against Xerxes, but he's not going to be carrying a goal threat. He seems a bit out of sync with the rest of the team sometimes. So I think in terms of this one, I'd be surprised if Xerxes stays. If he does stay, then Michael Carrick's got to get him back into the team as well. Um, Xerxes looked fine. I think the issue is going to be when the level increases. Michael Carrick didn't really use Xerxes much at all last season, and what we're seeing is if Sesko's out, he tends to get benched. So I'm just saying, I think you look at Tony and look at Ollie Watkins as maybe better options to go on this one, but I'll have to see. We could get Mateta in, but for some reason the stupid board is waiting for Xerxes to go. I mean, I've said this a few times. Do you remember when Man United were looking at getting deals done in the past? It's almost like you get what you need to do is you need to get the players in first, then move out players, don't you? So for some reason that I don't really like the idea that if Man United wanted to get an attacking player, it was linked to a Rashford exit because that might happen at the end of the window and you might have no options at all. And it's the same with like if Xerxes has to leave for us to get a striker in. I mean, what we're doing here, like Xerxes might not leave to the end of the season, and any sort of striker we're looking at, like Tony and Watkins, might have both gone by then. And so I don't really agree with this one. Big up to you, Vincent. Hope you're having a good day. Um, let's have a look. So if anyone's got any comments on this one, just to go over the story, it looks a bit like Manchester United are going to be getting the deal done for Belieber very rapidly. And then I keep saying this is not going to be the final deal. Unfortunately, for a lot of Man United fans, this transfer window, I think a lot of us have been a bit annoyed by the lack of activity, but it seems to be happening towards the back end. So we've got another 10 days to go. I think the frustrating thing is that the season will have started and the any sort of signings we'll be getting in, we're not going to have them for pre-season. But I mean, I'm kind of getting used to that. That's the way Manchester United operate. We get our signings very late, and then we have to integrate them over the first few games. And so for me, it's not ideal. Luckily, at the moment, the first month at least maybe until October, there's only one game a week. So it's not going to be that we're bombarded with games. And Michael Carrick will be able to play probably pretty much a settled team for the first sort of 4 or 5 games. But after that, you will start needing a lot more depth as well. And so Mr. B says Tony's level is where he is now, I'm afraid. I think he's just considered as a cheap option, Mr. B. I mean, I would be a bit surprised if Man United went for him, but yeah, I don't know. I got on this one. Uh, yeah, one thing I have seen is there seems to be quite a lot of information. There seems to be quite a few teams that want Xerxes. And Xerxes cost about 35 million, didn't he? He didn't cost a lot of money. And I think if Juventus want him, one of the things that seems to be a bit annoying is I don't know if like selling teams to teams in Serie A, and maybe it might be a financial situation that a lot of these teams don't seem to. It's not that they won't spend money, but if you remember the Rasmus Højlund deal, I'm wondering whether Xerxes, maybe the issue with Xerxes is that Juventus or other teams that want him maybe they're looking for a loan with option or loan with obligation. So whenever I've seen a Xerxes story, they always keep saying the same sort of thing and saying Man United don't mind if he stays, but if they do sell him, then they'll be looking at getting somebody in. And the question is going to be is there just the offers on the table, just loan deals at the moment? And it seems that United like we should be able to sell Xerxes for a decent amount of money. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of teams that want him. The question is going to be, I don't know whether Xerxes got a preference. I've not seen anything that said Xerxes wants to play for one team or another, which can influence the price somewhat. But in terms of this, I think Xerxes would be happy to go to maybe any one of like the top sort of 3 or 4 Serie A teams, but maybe they're looking at trying to do something similar to what we saw last year with Napoli, and maybe they were looking for a loan with an obligation to buy if they get Champions League football. So it's a bit annoying, but unfortunately that seems to be the situation. Yanni says, yes, we'll have one of the better midfielders in the league. Also, we're looking to get a left back, and it looks like we're getting a striker also. So it looks a lot more promising now for Yali. In terms of like people discussing about older players, and like Almac made a couple of comments saying, yeah, we got some old players coming in. Thing is, Tielemans, if you look at our midfield, you got Tielemans there. Okay, yeah, he's a bit older than the average in your signing. But then BALEBA is 22. You got Koeman who's 21. You've also got Santos, like another young player. So the majority of the players in midfield are pretty young, and Tielemans is younger than Casemiro. So overall, I don't see this as Man United signing old players. We got Tielemans in as an experienced player, but beyond that, Santos very young, and maybe for some people like too young. And you look at Kobe Manu is obviously still only 21, and I think the other signing of Belieber, whether Belieber works out or not is going to be difficult to say. But again, he's not an old signing, so he could still improve quite a bit as well. Um, yeah, this is a positive about Xerxes as well. I think he might have been, was he player of the season in Serie A before we bought him? And so um, Xerxes, Serie A proven. The idea of an Italian team taking on loan with option is absurd. And so obligation at worst, but preferably sale. I mean, it does seem to be that Pulp that what you're saying is right, isn't it? The issue is going to be like, are Man United able to actually get some of these deals done as well? Like, it seems crazy, doesn't it? But how are Man United not able to actually sell these players? Almac says our players have no resale value or longevity. Um, who are you talking about, Al? Because if you look at Belieber, Santos, like, they've definitely got longevity. They've definitely got resale value. I'm trying to think who else we've signed recently. Um, and if you look at Tielemans, like Tielemans is only 35 million, so it's not like we're going to be looking to like sell him on anyway. But if you consider Xerxes, we bought Xerxes quite cheap, and we're still struggling to sell him on, aren't we? For some reason. Welcome Red Devil Radar to the chat and say rumours that City might sign Wharton. I mean, they can only play a certain number of players on the pitch, so if they want to get Wharton. And they've already got Anderson. They're rumoured to get Belieber. They're rumoured to get Enzo, aren't they? They're not going to sign them all, are they? So I don't know what to think. I mean, are Man City going to be a good team next season? I don't know if anyone actually knows that either. Um, maybe this is maybe you can judge the comments regarding this one, that how we're feeling about Belieber. I would say when I talked about Belieber in this one, and you look at the Belieber deal. As soon as we talked about this yesterday, I think I'll say this, that regarding Belieber, I did a poll yesterday that said, right, is 65 million a good deal for Carlos Belieber? And 80% of people said yes, but there is like a significant 20% of people that are quite vocal. I'm not happy with the deal. So could I answer yes or no? Are Ineos doing the best for their club? To be honest, like it's an almost like an impossible question, isn't it? Because I think with Ineos, we don't know exactly whether we're kind of halfway through a rebuild, I feel, and we don't know what the end game is. We don't know if Ineos are going to then start focusing on trying to win the Premier League. They've said they want to, so we've only got that to go on. So I can't say at the moment. I think the new stadium is definitely something that people think is maybe a bit of a distraction, but we'll have to see. And reports state Crystal Palace not selling Wharton. That'll be an interesting one because if you're looking at the Wharton situation, which we haven't really covered because Man United don't seem to be in for him, is that apparently there's a gentleman's agreement that Wharton can go for a sensible price. So I don't know. If Wharton wants to leave Crystal Palace, I don't see him as the sort of player that's going to be kicking off, but you never know. You never know what's going to happen. We go on this one. Um, Giannis says there are at least three teams in Italy who want Xerxes. I mean, I've seen the same, and the only thing I've not seen regarding Xerxes is I've not seen Xerxes come out and say, "I want this team." Do you remember Anthony? It was all about Real Betis, etc. And maybe the good thing is, I think it's probably good that Xerxes didn't go out on loan in January because if he'd gone out on loan to one team, maybe he would have then gone right. I just want this team. So at the moment, I think Xerxes would like to go. And I think those teams that are interested, one of them needs to step up and make an offer, and maybe that's going to happen as well. So United so Di says this isn't a rebuild, this is nonsense. So maybe for the person asking about Ineos, maybe that's going to be an answer. I think if you ask about Ineos, then it's going to be you're going to get a mixed reaction, aren't you, as well? Kurdistan still no. Here we go. And say, get still that Ineos. I swear down if you mess this up. Curtis, you sound a bit more frustrated in the chat. It's only been like one day since since things happened. Um, just a question to Al. Don't you think the average age of Man United signings recently is quite young? Like if you're looking at Santos, Belieber, and Tielemans, only one of those players is a bit older, and so do you think do you think that maybe it's Man United are signing a lot of younger players? Like if you look at the year before, we signed most of the players we signed have been younger. Yeah, no, I wouldn't focus too much on City, but maybe I don't think City are necessarily going to be as good as people are expecting. But again, it's going to be a judgment call, isn't it? Everyone's going to have a different view on City. I would just focus on Man United at the moment. Just to say the situation on Carlos Baleba, Manchester United have made an offer, and if you're looking at this, then I don't think we're going to get much of an update from Fabrizio. Not Fabrizio. I don't think we're going to get much of an update from David Ornstein until it's a done deal. Like he tends to focus on actual things that are happening as well. So in terms of this, how long do you think it should take for Manchester United to negotiate a price with Brighton? Brighton are not the easiest club to deal with, and we've offered 65 million. If Brighton want a bit more, how long? What's a realistic time frame for that to happen? Because I suppose if it happens before the end of the weekend, also based on like the knock that Baleba's got, Baleba's not going to be playing football until I think October anyway, like maybe late September, October, and so it's not going to really matter too much if Man United get the deal done today or tomorrow. The only thing I could say is that there's probably three more deals Man United need to do. One is sell Xerxes, and then you use that money to buy a backup striker. And the other one is going to be, according to like a few sources, like I said, a left back looks like it's almost a done deal. And just as I showed yesterday, this might be Man United's midfield. And if you had Kobe Manu in there as well, only Tielemans is actually going to be towards the late 20s. So I think overall it is quite a young midfield, and it does give Michael Carrick a reasonable amount of options, which I know people they're going to be scrutinising Michael Carrick for sure next season if things doesn't happen. And for people that just joined in the stream asking about left backs, and Fabrizio's stance at the moment is a left back is almost guaranteed to be signed. So in terms of this one, like, and they're almost talking about like once the Carlos Baleba deal's been done. So the way journalists are talking, it's like it's a done deal. So I get the feeling that in terms of like negotiation, it's probably getting to the stage where Baleba agreed terms a year ago. Brighton want the best possible price. Manchester United have got this idea that we want to spend a certain amount of money. I think 70 feels like maybe a top end, possibly, and we're going to negotiate from there. So if Man United spend, I guess, if we spend over 70, you probably say we haven't negotiated very well. If we get the deal done for a bit less, maybe people will be, I don't know, what would be a price where you look at and go, we've negotiated well? I think that's probably the difficulty one. Scott says, if Belieber had his head turned by Manchester United, as people say, how would he perform if he can't hold a place in the team? I suppose this is one to ask for like a few players, isn't it? Because Santos leaves Chelsea because he wants to be a first team player. Belieber, obviously a first team player for Brighton. And if you look at Tielemans, first team player for Aston Villa. Kobe Mainu, he got benched by Ruben Amorim in the start of last season, but was a first team player under Michael Carrick. So they're not all going to start every single game. I think it's when you join Man United, then you shouldn't really be walking into the team. It should be like amount of appearances. It's got to depend on how well you play. So I think, yeah, it's a fair question, but you're going to have to respond. You're going to have to step up, and I think hopefully for Man United, you're going to be having, yeah, you're going to be having, I suppose, a bit of competition, which is good, but also there's going to be a lot of games anyway. So I think for Michael Carrick, there's enough games there for everybody. If you think about it, then if two people are going to start in a Champions League match, you're going to have one or two people coming off the bench. So I'd be surprised if these players aren't regularly involved as well. And I don't think we're going to have a situation last season where effectively we played almost the same team every game, and we saw one manager didn't want to use Kobe Manu, and the next manager didn't want to use Agate. I think with Michael Carrick, he's got to get the best out of this squad, and it's the same problem as Alex Ferguson had with four good strikers. Having like four useful midfielders is not a problem if the manager can get the best out of the squad. So, I mean, I'd be more worried if Man United didn't have those options. So the fact we've got those options is actually a positive. Yeah, Scott, but with Santos, I think they're all going to be fighting first team positions. I can't really say that. What happens if like players will have good days, bad days. If Kobe Mainoo comes into the team and plays excellent, then I think you're still going to have to like rotate him out of the team occasionally because you're going to have to keep him fresh as well. And the same way is like if Santos is playing excellent, I think you still got to give him a bit of time out of the team as well so he doesn't get burned out. And the same with Belieber. I mean, hopefully they're going to respond and hopefully they're going to be pushing each other on. I think that's the positive thing as well. And maybe also you got a bit of leadership there from Tielemans. You got an experienced player, which I think will be very important. And I know in terms of like the signings, that yeah, Tielemans is a bit older, but I think you do need to have a bit of experience in and around the squad, particularly European matches as well. So you've got Maguire as like the experience in defence, and you've got I think someone like Lamans. I think will be absolutely fine. And I think if you're looking at midfield, having like if we didn't get Tielemans and we got a younger midfielder again, I think you'd then be looking at thinking we do need a bit of experience. Be up to you, Gaz. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're having a good day. United Side Dice says you lot come back this mess and say you're certainly not blinded by these signings, and you say you're in your Ineos out fully. And if you think Ineos are making a disaster, the question I would say is like, where do you think Man United finish in the league? Like, And is the best metric of this going to be like it's? I'll say this: Manchester United are going to have a very different midfield from last season. So last season, Casemiro, Mainu starting almost every game towards the end of the season, and Agata was the other option. We could easily be starting this season with like Casemiro gone, Agati injured, and Mainu not starting either. So we're going to have a completely different midfield. So I can't even guess how how it's going to form, how it's going to function. But I don't know. Mr. B saying, well, there's a few. I think with this one, I think once Manchester United go for the midfield, I think we're going to be looking at maybe Lewis Hall will be the next priority. I feel, but that would probably be quite expensive. So they talked a lot of how they would spend, and so they say barely reinforced the team, and we replaced a few. And so you're saying Carrick's been set up to fail, just like other managers. In terms of left back, so you're only saying you think, how do you pronounce this one? I keep saying David Rome, but you think he's the left back, cheaper option, will feed Sesko and Mateta, and yeah, I think a lot of people were talking about him last night as maybe, maybe if you think about it, he's somebody that's going to come in for maybe about half the amount that Lewis Hall would cost. I think it's like is it like a 34 million release clause or something along those lines? And good at crossing, and maybe there's going to be an impact there as well. But this would be a cheaper option than Lewis Hall. I don't know at this point in time whether people would actually prefer one or the other. I think in terms of like next season, it wouldn't really matter too much that they'd both be good signings. I think Rom, you'd be expecting a bit more in terms of like he's got more experience and he is someone that gets a lot of assists. But I guess Lewis Hall is seen by a lot of people as a really good long-term option, which is something that I think a lot of fans are happy with trying to get those sort of things in. But we'll see. So let me just go through a bit of the information. Say Hall is not it, says Yarley. He is getting a new contract from Newcastle, not for sale this summer. I would say this, like new contracts, like we've seen Semenyo get a new contract and leave rapidly later. So no, you never know. With a new contract, Cunha got a new contract just before we bought him. So I think a new contract is obviously, it obviously means that Newcastle have some power, but maybe they're going to put a release clause in there. I'm not going to say that Lewis Hall will be the next signing, but I think him getting a new contract, I don't think it changes things too much. If anything, it just guarantees that the price is going to be very high. Um, and so for you, Ineos is like the managerial situation is is not great. It hasn't been great at the club, is it? You can say that, can't you? You can say that with Ineos, they made a few mistakes regarding whether they backed or sacked managers at certain times, but I think that's largely like I think we've discussed that quite a lot on the channel in the past. So we'll go through a few of the options. Big up to you, Jeff, in the chat. Kenny Fan TV, big up to you as well. You're saying Manchester United held talks with representatives of Racing Santander left back. We talked about Salinas maybe about 2 weeks ago, and I think United, obviously a big fan of this player who they think is going to be a good target. I think the price is about 15 to 16 million pounds on that, Kenny. But if you see anything else, please let me know. And these are the options available, aren't they? 16 million pounds for me is very cheap. Is very cheap. And if you'd have to also say that if Man United bought a 19-year-old, then he's probably going to be a backup to Luke Shaw next season. But maybe there's scope for him to take the place in a year's time. So I don't really mind that deal, but I can't say I've seen loads of him. If Man United think he's good enough to be a first team player next season or very shortly after that, I mean, also apparently Barcelona are very interested, so maybe Barcelona might be moving out Balde as well. So Barcelona interested. The question is going to be, young Spanish player, is Barcelona going to be too big a draw for them to turn down if Barcelona are serious about this one? So I think that the price is supposed to be quite low. If there's significant interest from Man United and Barcelona, maybe that price could edge up. But again, he seems like a decent option in terms of that's kind of a bit more in line with a long-term successor for Luke Shaw, and would be I think next season you'd still see Luke Shaw as a starting left back, but maybe that would be a good long-term option. And maybe that's going to be now, if you think that's a good deal, let me know. But I think David Rome is going to be a safe option. Like he'll come in and be decent. Lewis Hall is clearly the most expensive one, and I've said this a few times. Robinson, I hope we don't do that deal. I mean, he has been linked, but I've not seen too much recently, so that makes me think that that's not going to happen, which is probably a good thing as well. So I'll go through a few of the comments. I say there must be like 20 plus clubs wanting Salinas now. So Atletico Madrid just entered the race for him. And I do get the feeling that he wants to stay in Spain, which is why Manchester United will be interested, but I think if you're looking at like he's been playing in the second division in Spain last season. They just got promoted. I would be thinking, is it going to be? I think for Man United it would be a bit of a gamble, and I think for Salinas as well joining Man United would be a big gamble. I think if I was him, I'd probably stay in Spain, and he can move later in his career. But it's one where I can see Man United interested, but I also don't think United are going to be able to get him if Barcelona seriously want him. It's going to be a difficult one as well. Almax, um, we have finished below City 13 years in a row. When will this nightmare end? I guess I don't know. If it does end next year, then maybe people will have a different view. But at the moment, until it happens, you'd say I think a lot of this depends on City next year. If City improve, then yeah, it's not going to happen. But different manager, a few different players. I don't know. Who knows? Poor start to the Premier League, possibly. You never know. You never know. That it wouldn't be surprising if City drop off, and I think Man United will be relatively similar to last season. But I could see City. No, City could go either way. Let's be honest. They could win the title. They got very good players with like Semenyo, and they got a lot of firepower from Holland. So they could easily win the Premier League. But we saw that towards the end of last season, they weren't playing great. So you never know regarding this one as well. Big up to you, Vincent. Again, you're saying that Carlos Baleba will wear the number 20 jersey. We should probably sign him first, Vincent. But you're thinking that's going to happen very quickly. So previously worn by Dallo, but more importantly, Robin van Persie, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And you're saying the deal will be completed today. So maybe this will be like deal day, and that would be a good thing. Maybe it's like a deal day for this. So yeah, that could be decent, couldn't it? What's with the Belgian left back we've been linked with, Stays or something like that? To Vril, I've seen a couple of people talking about Stays, but I haven't seen too much significant. I think there's going to be everybody knows that Man United are no, Fabrizio is saying a left back's guaranteed. Other journalists are saying, yeah, we're going to sign a left back. So everybody's like got it in their heads that a left back's going to be arriving at Old Trafford this summer, and we don't know which one it's going to be. I just think at the moment there's a lot. If Man United go for Says, maybe that would be another deal where you think it's a bit what's the word? A bit unpredictable. Like Man United have been quite unpredictable in this transfer window, so and maybe that's a good thing. But again, I don't know too much about the player, so I can't say too much. But no, it would be interesting if we did go for someone like this one. Andy says you may as well say when will City's charges come in? You know, cheating City. That's why they finished above us. I think yeah. I think if you look at all the deals that Man City have done, and you look at the fan base, I mean, I saw a story that they had to hand back tickets for the Charity Shield. They've got quite a small fan base still, and despite winning all the trophies, They still struggle to sell their ground. The sponsorship deals are really sketchy to say the least. So yeah, I don't know with this one. I think with City, they're clearly they're not. If you look at what Newcastle are doing with the most wealthy owners in the Premier League, there's clearly City are yeah they're not playing by the same rules, are they? And for some reason, the Premier League is happy for them to keep doing those sort of deals. But Vrill says we've been lucky with Lamans. Maybe he's worth a gamble. Do you think we were lucky? Like, were we lucky with Lamans, or was that well scouted? That I think Lamans was a good signing, and Christopher Vivell and the goalkeeping scouts recommended him. So I think that you got to give some credit to those. But maybe they've unearthed another gem in Belgium. I don't know. I do not know. It would be good if they did for a sensible price, wouldn't it? We can hope that, can't we? We can hope that. Um, I hope the thunderstorm's coming down here, Ryan, because it'd be quite nice to see some rain for the first time in a long time. Just a quick note as well. Tonight there will be a match preview with a Hull City fan and not Ryan in the chat. But no, there will be a Hull City fan on tonight, and that's going to be hosted by Kieran at 8 p.m. So that's going to be a good stream to watch as well. I mean, I think Hull are going to get relegated, but I've been at Old Trafford watching Man United versus Hull when we won 4-3. So you never know what's going to happen. I mean, Manchester United's defence, I don't think it's in great shape at the moment. So I think Hull City, Man United, it could be quite a high scoring game. So it might be quite a good way to start the season. Vincent says if a club doesn't fill all their seats in a shield game, that club should be forced to make a donation to the charity. Um, no, I don't know what actually happens. I think the tickets just get resold to other people, don't they? So yeah, no, we've had like no rain for a long time as well. No, it was like 30. I think when I maybe like a few days ago it was like 30s, but it's gone down a little bit recently. Can I name a whole City player? That's a good question. Um, because I'm not doing the preview, I haven't looked into it too much. But at the moment, I don't know. I don't think so, Al. I don't think so. I mean, I probably know more Middlesbrough players who've been linked to those, but no, at the moment, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Only joking, Ryan. I think you're kind of our representative in Hull. What do you think? Like, who plays for Hull? Who's a danger man? If you're around at 8 p.m., then maybe give like we have got like Max is going to come on, who is a Hull City fan, and we spoke to Max a couple of years ago. Actually, no, it's probably the last time Hull were in and around the Premier League, so it could be a little while ago as well. Who makes my confidence low in the Man United defence? Say Maguire or Shaw. At this point in time, I think it's just Manchester United's inability to keep a clean sheet, and it's not necessarily the same person every single game. It's just that if you look at it, I think the problem is it's partly the midfield and as well as the defence. So Man United's problem for I'd say the last couple of years is the amount of times people can run through midfield and run out the defence, and our defence isn't capable of stopping them. So I think my confidence that is probably, I mean, it depending on how Man United play. Sometimes Maguire is one of our better players. I would say Luke Shaw was probably a weak player in the last game. So if I'm going to say who makes my confidence low, it's probably going to be a combination of both of those. But overall, having the same back four for the last few years is a bit of a vulnerability. Um, and also, that's funny enough, Paddy McNair was there too. Um, I would just say that let's not banter Hull too much because you never know. You never know what could happen regardless one would do. Maybe that's the point as well. That if you're watching tonight at 8, get your score predictions in, and we'll see how confident people are because Hull City we should be winning that game, but you never know. You never know. I think the worry I've got is maybe we concede too many chances. Well, I will have to wrap up the stream in a second. If anyone's got any final questions or comments you want to put out there as well, I think this is like a £10 million deal of a player that's going to be for the future. I think this is, I thought this deal was going to happen and say getting him regardless of Belieber. I would still say, I think we might. I think we might do this deal regardless of getting Carlos Belieber in. So Hull have gotten 10 players this season. That could be a bit too many, which can cause them problems. Maybe they're going to have a sort of season a little bit like. Do you remember Nottingham Forest buying about 15 players? So I think Hull City have bought a lot of players. They need to though in the Premier League, but maybe that's going to be a vulnerability, and maybe we're going to see like team cohesion is not going to be great. If you get that many players in and try and integrate them, it won't work that well, will it? And when am I doing the season prediction? Good question. Good question. I might have to do a standalone video. I think I wanted to wait until the transfers had happened, but what I might do is I might do like a small video before the season starts and maybe do one after the window finishes. I think if we're going to do one that's going to be interactive, I think maybe after the window, because otherwise I won't have much time to do that. But if you're in the Discord, I'll post in the Discord when we're going to be doing this one as well. If Luke Shaw and Rashford play, yeah, I mean, if Rashford's not tracking back and Luke Shaw is what's the yeah that doesn't strike me with it doesn't seem like the most what's the word difficult left hand side we could put out, does it, to play against? So it could cause us a few problems. I agree regarding this one. Ollie McBurney is there. Okay, I'm expecting Man United to win that game, but I mean, we need to try and start the season on a high and then get some optimism around the squad. So I'm expecting that. One thing as well, is it a bit suspicious that Man United seem to have done deals or seem to be suddenly clicking into gear when the Amazon cameras start rolling? It could be definitely linked, but I'm not sure regarding that one. Ronaldinho's son is in the academy at Hull. Really? That is a bizarre one. How has that happened? Well, I suppose you've got to start somewhere, haven't you? You've got to start somewhere. Matt Target. Wow. Wow. Will you see me interviewing a former Man United player? I don't know. There was actually somebody, I can't remember who it was now, a few years ago that used to be a Man United player. I think if you're going to get a famous one, it'd be very, very difficult. But you never know. You never know. If we grow the channel, it opens up more possibilities. And at the moment, we're just focusing on growing growing the channel back up to 1K. And then there are a few people I know that we can collaborate with. And when we start going through the season, so for example, the first match against Hull, we've got a Hull football fan coming on tonight. When we start playing other games as well, I've got quite a lot of contacts from when the channel was Red Devil United. I've got quite a lot of contacts over the last 5 or 6 years in YouTube. So we will be able to get a steady stream of rival opposition fans onto the channel to discuss their matches. Ex-Man United players might be difficult because I think there's a lot of negativity associated with YouTube, so it might be difficult to get some of them involved. But you never know. You never know. If we can grow the channel in a credible, sensible way, where it's not obviously ranting and negative stuff towards players, which will obviously put them coming off. But you never know. That's something that if people got contacts, we can try and get people on as well. Um, yeah, I'll message Rio. Rio said he'd be available when the season started, Vincent. But if he's up for it, then we will be looking for regular guests as well. You had us fifth. I did see Doug said that Brentford would be sixth, which I'm going to say that feels like a bit of a high prediction. Big up to you, Greg, you legend. I will just say I had to start the stream earlier today because my dad's visiting. I think he just arrived literally like 3 minutes ago, so I will be ending the stream pretty soon. But if you got a comment you want to put in, Greg, or question, then get it in there as well. Oh, that's a shame, Jeff. That's a shame. And it was really good to get Webby on a year ago, and that was really sad news what happened recently. But we will be looking at as well that other content creators we can get involved. But yeah, no, it's a different different Rio. Um, if you have, I'll say this, I'll if you're in the Discord or if you have contact, the issue is going to be how do I contact these people you mentioned, and I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to speak to people, get people on as well. But again, it's about getting contact details and running the channel in a sensible manner in which because sometimes when you message people, they will check out the channel and assess whether they think they want to be on that platform or not. And I think where we did the same sort of thing, had a look and thought, yeah, okay, but we will look at doing that in the future. Yeah, big up to you, Daz. I think it's going to happen today. That's my thoughts regarding this one as well. I think Brentford could get like I think you can get European football, 100%, 100%. Yeah, there's quite a few people around. Don't get Rio on. It's a different Rio. It's not Rio Ferdinand. To be honest, actually, I'd get Rio Ferdinand on and ask him some questions, but I think he'd be an interesting guest. But no, no. Obviously, I think the dream would be if you got Eric Cantona, that would be basically like game over. Like you've won YouTube if you get Eric Cantona on your stream. I think that would be the best one. And David Beckham would be also that one as well. That would be the dream, but I can't see that happening. Yeah, no, you just have to give me the details for people. And I don't know if Mark, I don't know if you're on social media, but if you are, then hit me up. I've got links to socials. There's quite a few of them, and you could message me any details you think of someone that would be a good guest. It's a different Rio. I think it's Rio from Birmingham. You can get Cantona, but it costs 20K. Okay, right. Um, yeah, I'm not going to get. I'm not going to pay Cantona. How am I going to get 20K? Um, Jemba Jemba, I can't, honestly can't even remember him playing. So it probably come on. I don't know. I don't know. They wouldn't respond. They probably get hundreds of messages every day. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna have to call it a day today. But the news, I think if you've missed the start of the stream, then the start pretty much covers the news regarding Baliba, Lewis Hall, Salinas, other left back options. And we've got Ornstein, we've got Andy Mitten, and Fabrizio. They're all saying the same thing now. Hopefully it's gonna be a done deal. If something happens and I'm not able to do a live stream, I'll do a short or a video or something like that to cover that. But I think either way, another couple of signings before the window ends, I think is something that's going to happen. And we can have a discussion maybe next week or later in the week after the window finishes and go, right, has it been a good transfer window? Because until it closes, you never know. Getting Belieber and a left back and a striker would suddenly, it would look a very different window, I think. But everyone's going to have a different view. Thank you for watching, guys. If you're new, please subscribe. Please share the stream to other people if you can as well, and click the like. Until the next one, we will see you then. Cheers, guys.